Okay, the lighting isn't great and I look really tired because I didn't put makeup on or anything. But guess what? That's called real life. Anyways, let's get into the reading wrap up for March and April. So, if you have been following along, I did a bit of a detox from social media in March, and then coming off of that, realized that I had deeply internalized capitalism and then decided to take a break off of posting from YouTube for the month of April. You would think that that would mean that I read 1,000,000 books. Did not necessarily mean that. And I will explain why as we get through this video. But I'm going to go over all the books that I read in March and April. So let's just get into it. Okay, starting out strong with Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. I rated this book 4.25. This was actually the third time that I read the Hunger Games trilogy. And unfortunately, Mockingjay has always been my least favorite book of the bunch. The other books are like 5 stars, 6 stars for me. But this one, for some reason, just feels a bit lackluster. I feel like she could have done a little bit more with it. Also, I will forever be saying justice for Finnick. I'm not going to say why he needs justice if you haven't read the books and you don't know, but if you read it, you know. There are just a few things about that book that, as like the finale of this really emotionally devastating trilogy, I would have wished a teensy bit more just for the finale. But anyways, it's fine because we love Suzanne Collins so much. Not everyone can be perfect all the time. You know what I mean? We're all just humans at the end of the day. And then in true Grace fashion, constantly changing reviews at all times. I feel like if you see a review and you're like, oh, I think Grace rated that, whatever, check my story graph because it's probably changed. I'm so wishy-washy when it comes to reviews. I feel like my mind changes all the time, and the farther that I think back on it, usually the less I like it. I really need to sit on my ratings for quite a long time to be fully sold on them. So anyways, with that being said, the next book that I read in March was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which this was actually my first time reading it. If you watched my Hunger Games reading vlog, which I posted a little while ago, you would know. And I think I actually give a different rating in that because I've changed my rating since then, which again, in true Grace fashion. I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting to see a book from Snow's perspective, blah, blah, blah. I think it definitely gave us a lot of good background for certain things. I liked the way that there were tiny little nuggets of Easter eggs. Like, it wasn't even a full egg, it was just like a little nugget. And I feel like really, really deep, dedicated fans will see those tiny nuggets and be like, oh, that's the seed that blossomed into this sort of thing. And that was very interesting. However, the book on its own didn't feel as strong to me. I didn't feel as connected to it, probably because we were seeing the world through a literal psychopath's eyes. But, you know, I guess that's just part of the charm. Anyways, I rated this book 4 stars. I think I originally rated it, I'm looking at my story graph on here, I think I originally rated it 4.25 when I was doing the reading vlog because I was kind of like swept up in the moment. But looking back, it was just a 4-star read for me. I thought it was good, but it wasn't like fantastic. Yeah, 4 stars. Oh no, I didn't write my review for the next book. I think I know what I'm gonna rate it. I wasn't 100% sure in this other reading vlog that by the time this comes out, that reading vlog will not have come out yet, so sorry for spoiling it. But Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, the second book in the Six of Crows duology. I read the first one earlier this year and really, really, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed this one as well. When I finished it, I was like absolutely in a chokehold. I think after letting the dust settle a little bit, I will settle on a 4.75 star review. In the moment, I really thought it was 5 stars, but I haven't really thought about it that much since then. But I think that the book still is very, very, very well written. The stakes are really high. It's super interesting. You really get to know all the characters a little bit more. You just kind of feel for everyone so much, and I truly really enjoyed the book. So for me, it's a 4.75 stars. I can't really say that much about many of these books right now because they're all like in a series, so I don't want to like spoil anything, but if you haven't read the Six of Crows duology, I highly recommend it, especially if you like high stakes fantasy. It's not necessarily like overt, crazy, like high fantasy. It's not really romantasy, although there is this much romance in it, like just enough to like, if you like romance, like wet your whistle. I really enjoy it. There's heists, there's just like a lot of action, fun, I don't know. Highly, 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 highly recommend, genuinely. Okay, then, as many of you know, when I'm at work, I tend to listen to audiobooks. Because I work at a theater, I have a shoe call, I paint shoes and repair shoes and stuff, so there's nothing that I can do besides sit there with my headphones on and usually listen to audiobooks. So I listened to The House in the Pines by Ana Reyes, and I'm like literally changing the rating as we speak. I am going to rate this book a 3.5 stars because it was fine. It was good. It was interesting. There were definitely moments where I was like, okay, girl, we get it. Like, let's move on. Kind of for most of the book, nothing was happening, if I'm being totally honest. I was just listening because I was like, okay, I need something to listen to, and it was available at my library. That's usually how things go for me with audiobooks. So a lot of my audiobook scores are going to be a lot lower because, again, it's mostly just the ones that are available now to listen to because I don't really plan ahead for audiobooks that often, unfortunately. I tend to really only listen to really, really trashy romances, like Regency romances, thrillers, and nonfiction books in audiobook form because I genuinely really like to read and see the words written on the page with my own eyeballs. I'm very lucky in that I'm the type of person that can listen to audiobooks and read quite easily either way. However, maybe that's not 100% true because if I'm listening to an audiobook and I'm not doing something with my hands, I can't focus on it. So I can't just like sit there and listen to an audiobook. I have to be doing something, and I don't always want to be multitasking. Like, it's kind of fucking exhausting to do that all the time. So anyways, House in the Pines, 3.5 stars. It was very interesting. It was a concept that I'd never seen before, and I've read a lot of thrillers. So I thought it was interesting if you want something that's kind of like a new, different concept and kind of an unreliable narrator in a way. I would definitely check this out, but don't be expecting to have your pants blown off, okay? So it was just fine. It was fine. Next book, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. And again, if you watched my Hunger Games reading vlog, which if you haven't, you should, 5 stars. I mean, what else can I say? It destroyed me. If you are a fan of the original trilogy, first of all, make sure you read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because I feel like it actually has genuinely important context that is helpful to know if you want to get to know all the characters really well. First of all. Second of all, this book, for sure, fan service. For sure. Like, I don't care. It's fine. It is. It is. But at the same time, the way that things happened, like, makes sense because all the characters that you know and love from the other books are in this one, but it makes sense. It's not like she's just shoving them in there just to, like, make you feel sad when things happen to them. It's just the way things are because there's not a billion people in Panem and, like, you know what I mean? There's just a certain amount of people doing a certain amount of things. And you see a lot of people, and you see a lot of people that you met in Catching Fire because old victors, all that stuff. I don't want to spoil anything, but be prepared to have your heart ripped out and crushed on the floor. Yeah, I was literally sobbing at the end of this book. I don't know what else to say. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Cannot say enough good things about that book. It destroyed me, and I loved it. Anyways, this is where things almost start to go downhill because I was also in the middle of reading Hellbent at the same time. I kind of swapped back and forth between Hellbent audiobook and regular book because I was just like on one. I was literally on one because I was in the middle of reading Hellbent. Sunrise on the Reaping came to me and I was like, oh my God, how am I reading 2 fucking amazing books at the same time right now? And then that's when things started going downhill because Hellbent was fantastic. Hellbent was so good. I'm so excited to read the next book in this series. I gave this one a 4.75 stars. Leigh Bardugo is honestly up there as one of my favorite authors right now. She has really come in sneaking out of the gate and just like smashed out of the park. I haven't read her other books, and if I'm being totally honest, I probably won't go back and read Shadow and Bone unless I'm feeling really bored. I've heard that they're just not as good, and I don't want to tarnish my vision of how wonderful of an author Leigh Bardugo is. But she has some other books in the same kind of universe as The Six of Crows that I may go and read that I've heard are really good that not a lot of people talk about. So that might be next on my Leigh Bardugo list, because I literally have no idea when we're getting the next Alex Stern book. It's gonna be a million years from now, and it's fine. I'll just cry about it. Hellbent, so good though. The stakes were really high. There's an introduction of a new character who, if you know me, you know. And if you've read the book, you know, because you know. That's really cryptic and weird. If you know some of my little guilty pleasure paranormal romance reads, then you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you've read this book, you'll know. But I'm intrigued. By some of the characters that they've added to the situation. Anyways, that's when things started going downhill, because I don't know about y'all, but for me, the easiest thing to put me into a book slump is reading a bunch of good books in a row, because then I'm like, oh no, this is gonna end soon, and then what's gonna happen next? So very unfortunately to literally any book, whatever came after this like high of like rereading The Hunger Games, getting the emotional shattering that was Sunrise on the Reaping, and then Hellbent and frickin' Crooked Kingdom, I was on cloud 9. And honestly, even a really good book was not going to be able to compare to these titans. So after this is when it sort of started going downhill, and I fell into a bit of a book slump. It wasn't like a crazy book slump, but I for sure was struggling real hard. And the next book that I read was Howl's Moving Castle, which I did enjoy. I think if I had read it at a different time, not coming off of some of the best books that I've ever read, it probably would have gotten a bit more of my attention and love. I definitely still enjoyed the book. I love that Miyazaki movie so much, and I think there were definitely things in the book that I liked more than the movie, and definitely things in the movie that I liked more than the book. So it was kind of like a weird like mesh in my brain. However, I did enjoy the book, and I rated it 4 stars. I wasn't expecting a ton going in, because I've heard that it is quite different than the movie, which basically the entire ending and like the whole plot of like the black knob on the door. If you've read or watched the movie, you know what I'm talking about. The black knob on the door has 2 completely different plots in the movie and the book. I prefer the book version, to be fully transparent. Like I said, I don't really love the war plot, and that's in the movie. So anyways, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really sweet. I could really see how well Hayao Miyazaki took the inspiration from the book, because everything that she described in the book, I was like vividly picturing in cartoon form in my head, because I was like, wow, yeah, he really knocked that down to the T. But it was really sweet. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. I would have loved a little bit more romance, like a teensy bit more. I feel like it kind of came out of nowhere for me. However, I still definitely enjoyed it. After that, it definitely went downhill. It took me a long time to finish that book, like longer than it should have. And then I ended up DNFing 2 books. I was in Italy when I finished the book, and I was trying to start 2 other ones. I was trying to start a book that was set in Italy, and I just happened to pick 2 kind of boring ones that happened to be set during World War II, which if you've listened to me throughout this entire video, what have I been saying? I don't like books set during wartime, but you know, sometimes you just don't have any brain cells and it's fine. I tried to start My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, and I knew that if I started it, I was gonna hate it, and I was not gonna finish it, and I was just gonna like have a bad time. I needed to be in a different headspace to read that book, which is a book that I do definitely want to read. I know there's a difference between like actively being in a war, like in a fantasy book or some other kind of book, or like the war going on in the background kind of thing, and I don't necessarily mind the latter if it's done well. And I've heard that My Brilliant Friend is a fantastic book. It's just a book that I know is going to be very slow slow and I need to take my time and be in the right headspace for it, and I was just not in the right headspace for it. And then I jumped right into another book also set during World War II called Still Life by Sarah Waters. It's not Sarah Waters. Maybe it is. I don't know. Editing Grace will help me. Still Life, I also DNF'd because it was set during World War II. I don't know if I'm going to come back to that one. So yeah, I DNF'd 2 books and then I was like, okay, what can I do? I need a stupid little romance that's just going to be easy to read. And I ended up going to one of my ARCs, which is great because I kind of killed 2 birds with one stone with that one, trying to get my NetGalley score back up. I read Friends to Lovers by Sally Blakely and I gave it a 4.25 stars. I thought it was really cute. I love childhood friends to lovers. Like, it's one of my tropes. It's like a comfort trope. Even though it is very annoying to some people, I think at the end of the day, your romance tropes kind of comes down to who you are as a person and what kind of life experiences you've had. For me, it just scratches a bit of an unresolved thing that's happened to me in my life, and I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I thought it was really cute. Sometimes the characters were annoying, sometimes the friends were annoying. You know how romance novels are, like nothing's ever perfect. But I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was a really sweet book, and I definitely recommend if you're a fan of Emily Henry. It gave that kind of vibes. Honestly, Friends to Lovers was essentially a cross-section between People We Meet on Vacation and Happy Place. So if you enjoy those 2 books, this definitely would be something that you would enjoy 100%. Good banter, you know, the whole 9. Anyways, then I listened to 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, and low-key, it changed my life. My jaw was on the floor during half the time that I was listening to the book, and I expeditiously purchased a secondhand copy because I was like, I need a physical version of this. I need a physical version of this so I can annotate it and reread it a million more times. I was literally like, okay, this is my version of the Bible now. It's basically a self-help / philosophy text, really leaning heavy on the philosophy side of things. And it kind of just tells you, if you have a regular human lifespan, like we're just guessing whatever many years, you're probably gonna live for about 4,000 weeks, which could be a big number, could feel like a small number, probably less than you thought. Yeah, for sure. So what are you gonna do about it? Like, how are you going to spend your time? And I think this is a perfect companion novel to Cal Newport's Digital Minimalism, because I feel like they both talk about the same kind of things. And also, green fucking flags, because in the first couple of chapters of 4,000 Weeks, it talked about On the Shortness of Life by Seneca, which is one of my literal life-changing philosophy reads, and This Is Water by David Foster Wallace, which those are 2 of my most favorite philosophy texts that I've ever read in my life. So I was totally locked in. I was sold. I drank the Kool-Aid, whatever you want to say. I highly recommend that book. Highly recommend that book. Someone in the Discord recommended it. I cannot remember who. Literally amazing. Fucking incredible. I can't wait to reread it. It'll probably be later again this year. I'm gonna go back to that book so often. I need to go back and like physically look at it with my eyeballs and highlight stuff, because I have the memory of a goldfish and I already have forgotten all the wonderful things that it has said, and I feel like it's one of those things that I need to go back and read constantly, because our brains are silly. And honestly, when I'm not going back and rereading and revisiting philosophical texts, my life suffers for it. And I'm not a religious person. I grew up in the church, but don't really vibe with that anymore. However, philosophy for me is essentially as close to a religion as I think I'll get in my life. I love thinking about why we're here, why we do what we do, the meaning of life, all that kind of stuff, and like how to find happiness and all that. Literally, that's why I started this YouTube channel. Like, if you've ever gone to my actual channel, like on youtube.com, every single banner that I've ever had has said, finding realistic ways to live a happy and intentional life. And if that's not the most philosophy-ass thing that you've ever heard in your life, I don't know what is, okay? Also, I just realized I'm on my booktube channel, so that's for my main channel. That's the reason why I started YouTube in general. This is so that people can see that you can read and do fun things and not spend money, because I read from the library. Anyways, in general, the whole point of my life is to find realistic ways to live intentionally, be happy, you know, find balance, find peace, all that kind of stuff. And I know it's not possible all the time. That's like the whole point. However, finding meaning where you can and like taking out the noise and like blah, 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 being a good person, all that kind of stuff, it's very important to me. So like making sure that I'm connecting into who I want to be as a person and like how I want to spend my time is definitely something that I really, really, really appreciate with philosophy and like how it makes you think about these certain things. Long story short, I cannot say enough good things about that book, and I highly recommend reading it immediately or listening to it. It's a really good listen. Yeah, 4,000 Weeks. Wow. Fantastic. Amazing. Next book that I read, Felix Gray and the Descendant. This was an ARC that I got sent from Unbound Publishing Group. They emailed me, and I think it's because I read 7 Days in Tokyo. I gave it a 3.5 stars. Honestly, it was pretty good. Kind of the same as what I was saying before with like the thrillers. This one's more of like a kind of like a mystery vibe set in early 1900s London. It's definitely interesting if you kind of like Regency-ish stuff, because it kind of just gave me that. I know it's obviously not the Regency era, but it gave me that vibe because it was set in like old-timey London, and it was kind of like a mystery at the same time. It was interesting. It's definitely not like one of my favoriteest books that I've ever read. It's definitely one of those books that's quite easy to read. It's really quick. It's a short book. And the main character is the Prime Minister of England. So it's kind of like a bit of a historical fiction, kind of going behind the scenes and getting like a bit of a what if this happened. If you like historical fiction and mysteries, I would check it out. Next book that I actually listened to, there's a couple of books out there that it's better if you listen. This is one of those books, in my opinion, and that's what I've heard from other people talking about this book. I highly recommend it. It's kind of like you're listening to like a tell-all documentary, and obviously it's not real, but it 100% gave the same vibes as Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm pretty sure this was heavily inspired by Daisy Jones and the Six. It's definitely in that same kind of style. I personally found it way more interesting than Daisy Jones and the Six. I really enjoyed this a lot. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's The Favorites. Did I even say the name of the book? It's The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought listening to it was very good. The actors are all fantastic in the audiobook, and it was super interesting. It was about not competitive figure skating. It's about competitive ice dancing, specifically ice dancing. I learned that it's different, but it's really interesting. If you kind of like the I, Tanya vibe, it's like that. It's very drama. So if you kind of like those kind of expose documentaries, reality TV, if you liked Daisy Jones and the Six, definitely check this out. Okay, next book, The Shadow Bride by Shelby Mahurin. And I also read the first book in this series, The Scarlet Veil, last year in a paranormal reading vlog that I posted on this channel a little while ago on Halloween last year. It's the second book in the duology, and I did not like it as much as the first one. I'm so sorry, Shelby. I'm so sorry. I gave this one 3 stars. Ugh. Okay. It's tough with YA romance or YA fantasy romance because I feel like for most of the time, unfortunately, they just have to be yearning, first of all. Second of all, this was fairly sexual for a YA romance. I'm just gonna be totally honest. I don't mind because I'm not a young adult and like I have life experience, if you know what I mean, but it's definitely reaching the point where I'm like, did Sarah J. Maas ghostwrite this? Both books, for sure, nothing to write home about. Definitely something to read if you literally just want like brain rot, vampire romance fantasy. That's pretty much what I was looking for, and that's what I got. It was definitely entertaining. The book was way longer than it needed to be. It was kind of annoying because the main character is borderline insufferable, but I feel like that's the case for many of these teenager main character people that somehow become immortal sort of vibe. You know the type. Anyways, I'll just move on. There's nothing else I can really say about this book. It was what it was. And the last book that I will be talking about, An Italian Wedding Adventure by Leonie Mack. This book was sent to me again by a publisher. They reached out to me because I had read and reviewed another one of Leonie's books last year. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. This one, not as much. Really, unfortunately, not as much. So I rated it 3 stars because, unfortunately, I did not read the blurb, which was my fault. And when you are a romance reader, you know that there are certain tropes. Some of them are not fun to read about for your own personal experience. And for me, second chance romance, usually, there are only very few experiences where I've had a good reaction to a second chance romance. If you like that kind of thing, then maybe you would like this book, perhaps. I found the characters pretty irritating at the beginning of the book, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. Yeah, I was kind of just like, okay, so how the fuck at the end are they gonna get back together? Like, that's the kind of thing that I think when it's a second chance romance. Like, if things end in a semi-bad way, and then by the end, you're supposed to believe that they're all fine, everything's good, every problem that they had before has vanished into thin air, I don't really think so. Yeah, that kind of like ruins the vibe for me on a romance book if I'm like, oh yeah, but they're gonna get divorced. Like, it ruins the vibe for me for sure. Whatever. Say what you will about a second chance romance. For me, it just feels silly. I'm not one of those people that, like, if I break up with someone or if I'm not with them anymore, I'm not the kind of person that would be very likely to give them a second chance, because chances are the relationship ended for a reason. Sorry to say, I'm a bit of a hater when it comes to that, but maybe that's just because I'm a child of divorce. Who knows? It is what it is. Your experiences shape you and dictate your book taste very heavily, and I think for sure the fact that my parents got divorced when I was 12 plays into that, and that's okay. I don't like second chance romances. Sue me. Anyways, thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any thoughts about any of the books that I've read, if you've read any of the books that I've read this month or anytime recently. I'm super excited. I have so many books that I want to read on the horizon. If you guys are interested in a video where I talk about my like hopefuls for the rest of the year, I would love to do that, of books that I really want to read, and then you can tell me like, okay girl, don't read that book, actually it sucks, or I'm super excited to hear your thoughts on this, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. I feel like that would be interesting, so let me know if you're interested in that in the comments. Anyways, that's all. Oh my god, I've been talking for so long, my throat hurts. I need to go drink some tea and water and stop talking. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I'm really glad to be posting again. You will not get a video every single week on this channel. You will get a video most weeks on this channel though. So hopefully we can keep the momentum going and get up to 1,000 subscribers really soon, I hope. Love you all so much. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, I'm sending you all my love because we're all just trying our best out here, okay? Don't you ever forget it. See you later. Happy reading. Bye!